Gati Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisvatyata. Okay, so what we did was that we see the need of the three levels of the wisdom. Three levels of wisdom. What are the three levels of wisdom? Wisdom brought through learning, wisdom brought through reflection, wisdom brought through meditation. Okay, three wisdoms. Now the next point is as I mentioned earlier, whatever we learn, see if we can gain conviction in what we are learning. One thing is, what we learned is that we, each one of us, we have the potential to become to achieve the final happiness, ultimate happiness, which is also known as the Buddhahood or ultimate happiness. Now, we need to have this conviction. So this seed of the perfection is within us. And you can ask me, how do I know this? So this is how we need to inquire. But how do I know that I have this perfection of the ultimate happiness within me? Because for this, what we need to know is what is known as the Tathagata Garbha. Tathagata Garbha meaning the essence of the Buddhahood or the Buddha nature. In other words, in Tibetan, Sangye-girik. In Tibetan, it is known as Sangye-girik, Buddha nature or Tathagata Garbha. So we need to learn this. So, for example, say here in Bangalore, I think in Bangalore the month of April is a little hot. Hottest? Yes. April. Let's say April. Very hot. And then there's only one glass of water. And that too, the glass of water is the water coming from the sewage, unfortunately. From the factories, sewage. And what is the water like? Clean or unclean? Very unclean. So you want to drink it, and there's only water available. You are very thirsty. You want to drink it? No. Okay. Now the same water we can treat it. Same water we can treat it with the reverse osmosis technology, AquaGuard, and what is that? Canned, and all these the companies, they use the reverse osmosis, the technology to clean the water, and they can also put chemical atom in it. So these technologies help us in what way? In settling the dirts, in settling the water pollutants. Settle them down, remove all the dirts, the pollutants, then what is left? Pure water is left. You want to drink it? Yes. All the mineral water which we get from the markets, they're all the treated water, right? Now tell me, this clean water, it came from where? From the sewage, or from exported or imported from Mount Kailash, or from the sewage? Yes, it came from the sewage, but the sewage water was very dirty, full of pollutants. And how can you say that it was there? It was there. How can you say it was there? How can you say it? Okay, so you know that it was there, the purity which we now have, it came from the dirty water. It came from the dirty water. Okay, don't forget this. Now the second question that I like to pose is, let's say a black charcoal, a solid black charcoal, and I ask you to make it white inside out. So what do? You will try to remove the black parts, black particles. By removing the black particles, will it become white? Then what will happen to the charcoal? Charcoal will disappear, right? Charcoal will disappear. While removing the black part, the charcoal disappears. But whereas for the dirty water, removing the dirt, instead of the water disappearing, water becomes very clean, right? Now there's a difference. There's a difference here. One, instead of the water disappearing, the water becomes very pure. Whereas with the black charcoal, instead of the charcoal becoming white, the charcoal disappears in the first place. So what is the difference? Anyone? So why there's a stark contrast with the two? Anyone? Why the water, the purity comes out? Why not the black charcoal, the white comes out? Why not?
The
Anyone?
essence of water is pure, while the essence of the charcoal may not be white.
Very good. Anyone else who likes to add to this?
It's already there.
Okay, the purity is already there within. Yes. Anyone else who likes to add to this, or
There is no water in charcoal.
no? With the charcoal, the question is, with the charcoal, why the charcoal did not become white? Instead, the charcoal disappears. Yes. The very nature of charcoal is black, whereas the very nature of the water is not dirty. Anupamaji? The water has the flexibility to become dirty and to become clean. Charcoal also has the, charcoal does not have that flexibility. Why? Charcoal does not have the quality of whiteness there. Okay, so all the answers combined together is a very correct answer. The water, the true nature of the water is not dirty. True nature of the water is clean. So when you remove the dirt, what is happening is that you are separating the true nature of the water and the adventitious nature of the water. Adventitious stains. Adventitious stains, you separate this adventitious stains and the true nature of the water. You separate the two, then automatically true nature becomes, it comes out. Because the true nature of the water already existed. It becomes invisible, it becomes dormant when the dirts come in. When the dirts come in, right? Whereas with the black charcoal, the blackness is the true nature of the charcoal. So therefore, when you remove the true nature, charcoal disappears. Whereas with the water, the dirts are not the true nature of the water. They are the adventitious nature, not the true nature. You remove them, the true nature will come out. Our mind, fortunately, it is not like the black charcoal. It is like the dirty water. However dirty our mind is, the true nature of our mind is so pure. Once the dirts are separated from the mind, when the mental defilements are separated from the mind, the true nature of the mind comes out, which is so pure. That is known as the omniscient mind. That is known as the omniscient mind. So now tell me, each one of us, each one of us, when you remove the mental dirt, the true nature of the mind comes out. You agree with me or not? What is that true nature like? Pure or impure? Very pure. So that purity, that perfect purity of your mind, it came from where? Say 2017, October 21st, we had the class. And then 3 days we had the class. And then after this, say 2027. 2027, after how many years?
10 years.
After 10 years. Oh, I remember 10 years ago. No. Say 2057. How many years later?
40 years.
Huh?
40 years.
40 years later. Okay, 40 years later, right? So we are all... Right? No, we are still here, don't worry. Okay, 40 years, I'm not sure. Let's say 20 years, that's better. Okay, 20 years later means 2037. 2037. 2037, October 21st. October 21st of 2037. And then suddenly you remember, right? You are just grappling through the earlier documents. Suddenly you found this book which wrote 2012, October 21st, right? You wrote it. Wow, it's exactly 30 years ago. No, 20 years ago, right? Oh, I remember something. Yes, I practiced this. But who taught it? Who taught it? I don't remember too clearly. But I practiced it. I practiced it for the last 20 years, right? And then what happens? That your mind, all the defilements, they're already cleansed, they're already removed. And the pure nature of mind comes out. You become enlightened, right? 2037. Okay, so now the point is that this pure nature, this very pure mind that becomes manifest in you, 2037, October 21st, that pure mind came from where? Came from 2017 mind or from somewhere else, from another, the pure land? Came from where? Came from the same mind which you have in 2017, October 21st. Same mind. But this mind today, 20 years before, today, is very defiled. It's not pure. How come that the purity comes later? How come? Because we are able to separate the adventitious mental defilements from the true nature of the mind. Tell me, okay, how come that your mind becomes so pure 20 years later, is so impure now? How can it become so pure? Because for the 20 years, we were able to practice to separate the adventitious mental defilements from the true nature of the mind. What is the true nature of the mind? Perfect purity, right? Perfect purity. Very good. Okay. So that purity exists where? Within us today. But it's not visible. It's not visible because that is obscured by the mental defilements. You're getting it? It is there, but it is obscured by the mental defilements. Because it is obscured, it is not manifest, we call it the Buddha nature, the seed of the Buddhahood. Not the proper fruit, not the proper tree. It is still the form of a seed. We call it Buddha nature or the seed of the Buddhahood. You getting it? Okay. So this we must gain conviction that this seed of perfection exists within me. You getting it? If you know this, then when we say the child of the lineage, you are a child of the lineage. When you aspire, may I become fully enlightened. When you say, may I become fully enlightened, what you are saying is that may the purity of my mind come out fully. This is what you are saying. May the purity of my mind come out fully. How will it come out fully? Anyone? By removing the impurities, by removing the mental impurities. How should you remove the mental impurities? By applying the remedies. What remedies? The wisdom of emptiness. How do you apply, how many phases you will apply the remedies? In 3 phases. How? What are they? Wisdom derived through learning, wisdom derived through reflection, wisdom through meditation. Very good. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. Now the point is, okay, there are several points. I'm not too sure. Okay, now quickly. Should we get more time day after? Tomorrow, of course, is going to be the main. Then day after, if you get a little time, then I'll also include the detailed parts. For time, I'll go directly. Now, keep in mind that when you say that I'm happy, when you say I'm happy, be very empirical in your thinking, right? We must be on the empirical reality, something which is a reality, not just in the fancy world. So there, when we say I am unhappy, you have your body, You have your mind, which is unhappy. Your mind is unhappy. When you say, I'm unhappy, which is your mind unhappy. I'm into little depression. It is your mind which is in depression. And your mind, we cannot deny the interdependency of the mind and your physiology, your genetics, the genetic code, and then physiology, and the neurons, right? We cannot deny the fact of the interrelationship in the two. When you say my mind is unhappy, there's a very close relationship with how your brain works, how your physiology works, how the chemicals within your body work, how the hormones, they work. They're very closely connected. But what actually experiences is your mind. So these factors, they affect the state of your mind. You getting it? They affect the state of mind. Now, there are practices where, when a mind is weak, the physiology, the genetic constructs, then the neural circuits, they can easily affect the mind. When the mind is strong, these physical factors cannot affect the mental state as much, right? Okay, this is one thing that we need to keep in mind. Now, say we are talking about this, the experience of happiness, experience of pain, experience of anger, experience of, say, greed, whatever we talk about, that's all happening on the mental level, Now, what we've learned is that finally, experience of pain, uneasiness, these things, they're mental level, I need to shun them. I need to get rid of them. How to get rid of them? By knowing the chain of the causes. And finally, the ultimate cause is the ignorance and its imprints. So how to get rid of these imprints? One thing that we need to keep in mind is that however millions of poisonous leaves are growing on the tree, poisonous tree, right? And then from the wind blows through the wind, through these leaves, and then the wind strikes your hands, the body, and then skin rashes happen. This is all because of this. If you know this, then what will you do? You will think of removing the leaves, right? Okay, one we can remove the leaves like this, but after again 10 days, new leaves will grow. So it's just pointless. So a wise person will cut the root, right? Cut the root. Once the root is cut, however many millions of poisonous leaves there might be, they will all dry automatically. You don't have to pluck even a single leaf. You get it with me? Likewise, if you cut the root of all these multifarious, the miseries, the pains, anxieties, stress, and so forth, however millions they are, if you cut the final root, which is the ignorance and its subtle stains, subtle imprints, if you cut them, then all these automatically dry, automatically stop, these miseries will stop. That is known as transcending sorrow is absolute peace. Now with this in mind, to cut this, we need to depend on, okay, to cut this, say there's a poisonous tree, to cut the root, we need to depend on axe, a very sharp axe, not a blunt, right, but a very sharp axe. And then, if the and what? And depends on what? You keep the sharp axe there, it'll cut, it'll not cut. Then you need what? You need someone like me who is so terrible in the accuracy, right? So I have a tremendous enthusiasm, but I don't have the steadiness in my hand, right? So who would you hire? Hey, profession, someone who is skilled, who is by profession, with the what? A woodcutter. And the sick woodcutter, very strong, because the tree is chronic. The tree that we have, the poisonous tree that we have, it has been this tree for how long? For how long? For 1 day, 10 days, 10 years? Since immemorial time till now, this has been chronic. It has been a huge, huge, gigantic tree. So someone who's, sick, someone who's so sick, who can't even lift the eggs, can you expect that person to hit it? No. Person must be physical, very strong, very stable hand. You getting it? Okay. So we need these two things. With this, then we can cut on him, and then the steadiness must be there. Not just the strength, but steadiness must be there. And the axe must be very sharp. So this axe is analogous to the wisdom. Wisdom, very sharp wisdom. And a person with a steady hand, that is like the samadhi. You getting it? Samadhi. Only with these two things, samadhi meaning the meditative concentration. Meditative concentration and a wisdom. These two together, then we can cut this tree. One analogy. Another analogy that we need to know is very important. Another analogy that we need to know is, say we have in the class and suddenly there's a power cut. Suddenly there's a power cut all over Bangalore. So then we cannot read the book. So what should we do to read the book? You will bring the let's say the candles. We need candles, like the candles. And the candles they are very feeble, very feeble. It can hardly illuminate what is written there. So what kind of candle do you prefer? Very feeble or very bright? Very bright. So one, we need to have the light. That light must be very bright. You agree with me? Good. Now you light a very bright candle, but from the corner of the window somewhere there's a wind blowing, and the candle is flickering, right? All this is so bright, but it's very flickering. In the flickery light, can you read the book? You cannot read the book. So what should we do? We should stop that wind. Why should we stop the wind? To make the light steady. You getting it? So now this light has the capacity to remove the darkness and for us to serve the purpose of reading the book. For that matter, the light should have two characteristics. One should be very bright. Number two, it should be steady. You getting it? So the same light should have two characteristics. Same light. Likewise, the wisdom that we're going to cultivate, this is going to be the very bright light, very bright wisdom. Wisdom of emptiness, the finest wisdom. Wisdom of emptiness is required, very bright, but this wisdom must be complemented by the steadiness. What will give the steadiness? Samadhi, single point of meditation. So, shamatha meditation. This is so important. Shamatha meditation is so important. So in our practice, if possible, it's not just possible. If we are keen on some form of practice, and you have at least like half an hour to more than half an hour and more time for your daily practice, then you must include 5 minutes of meditation, single point of meditation, shamatha meditation. And what we're going to do here, this practice, the Mahamudra, so there it's inclusive. This single point of meditation is inclusive. You're getting it? Okay, so this will come later. No. Now the wisdom which is going to be the remedy to overcome the ignorance, that wisdom should have two qualities. One is the very bright, very sharp wisdom, and then brightness and the steadiness too. You getting it? Okay. So that resembles our wisdom inside. The wisdom inside, that should have the brightness as well as the steadiness. Okay. Now I'd like to introduce to you what is known as the union of the subjective clear light and the objective clear light. This is so important. The union of the subjective clear light and the objective clear light. Right? Okay. Let's say that let's say that you have a treasure. You have a treasure underneath your ground, and you live in a very simple hut, and you cannot afford. You effort to be in a good house. In a very simple heart, underneath your floor, there is a treasure. There's a treasure. Treasure. If you disclose this, you might become the richest person in the world. You have the treasure there, right? But you remain always very poor. So what's the problem? Problem was because of our failure to discover the treasure. Problem is because we don't have the wisdom to see the treasure. You're getting it? We don't have the wisdom to see the treasure. Okay, so now this wisdom to see the treasure. And we think what? We think what? You dig your ground, you dig your floor, then you will say, no, why should I dig the floor? This is extra work. Because you don't have the wisdom. Since you don't have the wisdom, what you have is ignorance. You're ignorant of the presence of the treasure underneath your floor. Do you agree with me? Ignorance. Okay. Now, this ignorance makes you poor. You agree with me? This ignorance makes you poor. Likewise, are we rich in happiness or we are poor in happiness? We are very poor in happiness. You agree with me? If you are very rich in happiness, you will not come to Choe 100%. If you are really very rich in happiness, okay. So, which means we are so poor in happiness. This is not because that we are poor, because of our ignorance not discovering the wealth within us. Right? This ignorance. Okay, now look. If you really want to have the happiness, the ultimate treasure of happiness within us, Buddha nature, as explained earlier, that is within us. You agree with me or not? Buddha nature is within us. And that, if you disclose that, remove the dirt, you become the most happy person in this universe. Right? And no external factors can affect you. No external factors can affect you. Okay, so now the ultimate source of happiness is within us. But we don't know this. Because of this ignorance, we suffer. Right? So this ignorance, what is the unique feature of the ignorance? Tell me. What is the unique feature? Don't think of philosophy or whatever. Just tell me in your own words. In your own words, what does it mean by ignorance?
Looking the other way.
Just raise your hand. Yes, here.
You look the other way.
Huh?
You're looking the other way.
Okay, you're looking the other way. I'm not too smart. I know what you're saying. It's a very good answer. It's over there.
Not knowing. Not knowing.
Not knowing how really is. Huh? It obstructs, it deceives you from seeing the reality.
Not wanting to see the reality.
Okay, not wanting to see reality. Oh, this is interesting thing. Not wanting to see reality. Okay, yes, some people are like this. Some could be like this, yes.
Bankruptcy of knowledge.
Okay, bankruptcy of knowledge. You must be from the corporate. Bankruptcy of knowledge. Anyone else?
I like it.
It's like a mirage.
Huh?
It's like a mirage.
No, make it clearer.
It's like a mirage.
It's like a mirage.
It's very transparent.
Just as a mirage is deceptive in giving us a false appearance of water, right? So mirage per se is not the analogy of the ignorance, right? Misconceiving the mirage for water. Misconceiving the mirage for water, this is ignorance, right? Okay, ignorance is which misconceives the reality. Ignorance is which misconceives the reality, one. And in other words, ignorance is a mind whose apprehension of the object and the reality, there's a discrepancy. Ignorance is a mind where there's a discrepancy between the appearance and the reality. Ignorance is a mind where there's a discrepancy between the appearance and the reality. This is ignorance. You getting it? Okay. So we see that ignorance is the one which brings miseries. If you don't want the miseries, then ignorance must be eliminated. How to eliminate ignorance? By knowing the reality as it is, by the wisdom. By knowing the reality as it is. So we have to know the reality, right? This is known as knowing the ontological reality. Knowing the ontology or the ontological reality, which means knowing the reality. We should know the reality as it is, one, right? Okay. Number two. So now let's say you know the reality so clearly, which means that you already have a very bright light. Now the bright light should be very steady, right? Bright light must be very steady. Okay. So there, now tell me, to know the reality, when you say to know the reality, wisdom, to know the reality, we should keep in mind two things. The reality that you know and the knower of the reality. You're getting it? The reality that you know and the knower of the reality. You're getting it? Okay. Now tell me whether you agree with me or not. The two things. When you say I know the reality, there should be two things there. One is the reality that you know, to be known, and what knows the reality. The knower and the known. You're getting it? In other words, to know the reality, there must be the object, the reality as the object, and the subject as the knower. Object and subject. You're getting it? Okay. Okay, what is this? Okay, flowers, right? How do you know that? How do you know that there are flowers in my hand? How do you know that? How do you know that what is in my hand is a form? Okay, say that I'm not a philosopher, right? I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a logician. I'm just an ordinary simple person, and I'm very curious to know that. I see what is in my hand. You say flowers, and how do you know that there are flowers in my hand? I can see it, as simple as that. Okay, always try to give simple answers, simple, precise answers. Don't be philosophers, right? Even though you're talking about philosophy, but be as the grounded, right, on the conventional world. How do you know that there's flower in my hands? I can see this. You're getting it? I can see. What sees? What sees this?
The eyes.
My eyes. Your eyes are what see this, and the flowers are what are seen. Seen and the seer. You getting it? Now let me put it in a different word. Say, the flowers are what I see. Flowers are my objects, and my eyes are the subject. The subject we see the flower. The flower is the object, and my eyes are the subject. You agree with me? Okay, now tell me that. How do you know that the flowers are in my hand? Because of my eyes as the subject could see this. Now you can put it a little in a philosophical way, right? Okay, so when you say that I could see the flower. Your eyes, we see the flower. Your eyes, we see the flower. Is it valid mind or invalid mind? Valid or invalid? Don't be afraid. Speak your mind. Valid. If it is not valid, you cannot say that the flowers are there. Right? Flowers are there because my eyes could see that, and my eyes are very valid. So you have the subject, which is valid, and which is the object, which is valid. You're getting it? Subject and object. Now, instead of this, you see this as flower. You see this as flower. You see the object. What sees the object is your subject. So subject and object. You're getting it? Now when you say that wisdom sees the reality. Say, your wisdom sees the reality. What's the object?
Reality.
See, when you say, I see the flower, what's the object? Flower is the object. What's the subject?
Eyes.
Your eyes. Now tell me, your wisdom sees the reality. What's the object? The reality, what's the subject?
Wisdom.
My wisdom.
Wisdom.
My wisdom or the wisdom. Very good. Okay, your wisdom sees the reality. What's the object?
Reality.
Reality. And what's the subject?
Wisdom.
Okay, now okay, let's see. Okay. What am I doing? Drinking water. Right? You all said that I'm drinking water. And some Tinzila may say that I'm drinking H2O. Right? And anyone from physics? Anyone from physics? No one from physics. Physics, engineering, yeah. Okay, say Giri. Giri tells me that you are drinking protons, electrons, neutrons. And rest of you says that I'm drinking water. And this is because he's from pharmacy, right? So he would say that you are drinking H2O. And Giri would say you are drinking electrons, protons, neutrons. Which of the three answers is correct? All three are correct. What's the difference? Perception is different. Speak a little more.
Definition of it is
Knowledge is different.
Ah, right. One is very gross. Water, drinking water is very gross. Drinking H2O is subtler. Drinking electrons, protons is even subtler. You agree with me or not? While all three are reality, within the realities, there are difference in subtlety. Now, ignorance that binds us in samsara, this ignorance there are various levels of ignorance, and it involves the subtlest of the ignorance. To eliminate the subtlest of the ignorance, which reality should you know? Subtlest of the reality. You're getting it? Subtlest of reality. Don't just say that you are drinking water. You have to say that you are drinking electrons, protons, neutrons. Likewise, we have to know the subtlest of the reality. You're getting it? Okay, tell me. To eliminate the subtlest of the ignorance, which level of the wisdom should you acquire? The subtlest of the wisdom. For that, which level of the reality should you know? Subtlest of the reality. Okay. Subtlest of the reality is known as subjective clear light. No, objective clear light. Subtlest of the reality is the object or the subject? Subtlest of the reality, is it the subject or the object?
object.
Object. So that subtlest of reality is known as objective clear light. Subtlest of reality is known as objective clear light. You're getting it? Now, the subject. Object is done. Now the subject. Okay. Within the subject, like now the steadiness. The steadiness of the light. Not just the brightness. Brightness is the wisdom. Steadiness is the samadhi. Okay. Say you want to see okay, say how many of you been along the beaches with the waves? How many of you? Maybe most of us here. Okay, now tell me, when is the water, when will you see the bed, the water, the bed of the beach? When you see that? When the waves are very ferocious or when the waves are calm? Why when the waves are very ferocious you don't see the bed? Huh?
The waves actually pick up the sand.
Okay, that's true. Okay, your name? Abin. Okay. Abin. Okay, Abin is one thing interesting. Say, there are some coastal areas, they have no sand. It's the solid rocks like this, and the water is so clean. That I saw in Israel. Say it is that beach, not the beach with the sand, right? So there, when will you see the bed? When the water is with a ferocious wave, or when the water is very calm and pleasant? Calm and pleasant. Why when there's a ferocious wave you don't see the bed? Clarity disappears because the bubbles are created, right? The waves create the bubbles and it obscures. Because of the turbulence, it obscures clearly seeing the bed. Likewise, when a mind is in turbulent state, it is the object which is in turbulent state or the subject which is in turbulent state? The subject which is in turbulent state. Now, if the subject is in a turbulent state, you lose the capacity to know the reality. So now the subject must be very calm and peaceful. You're getting it? And subject must be very calm and peaceful. And say for example, if there is a balloon, you blow the balloon, right? And then what happens as you deflate it? What happens? It shrinks in size. Likewise, our mind, it is like inflated balloon at the moment. As we go to sleep, it gets deflated. It becomes subtler. And then when we die, it becomes even subtler, right? Okay. So likewise, our mind can, from the gross, it can become subtler. And how the mind becomes subtler? There are two ways. One is a natural process, and another one is through cultivation. Natural process is when you fall asleep, automatically it becomes subtler. When you die, it automatically becomes subtler. But one is through cultivation, through meditative techniques. You can make your mind subtler. Okay. Now the subtlest of the mind. Subtlest of the mind is the subject or the object? Subject. Subtlest of the mind, is it object or not? It's also object. Say for the mind, say if I'm able to activate this subtlest, the mind, then with respect to Arvind, my mind, he's looking at my mind. Oh, now he has the subtlest mind activated, right? Who is saying this? Arvind's mind is saying this. So Arvind's mind becomes the subject with respect to my mind as the object, right? So my mind is a subject with respect to the whatever object that I'm meditating, but with respect to Arvind's mind, my mind becomes the object when he's looking at it. So the same mind is object as well as subject. But in this context, in the context of my mind, simply say meditative emptiness, and then my mind becoming subtler, and then at one point it assumes the subtlest form. That is in the form of subject or the object? Subject. So here, it is the subtlest subject. What is the subtlest object known as? Hey, what is the subtlest object known as? What is the subtlest object known as? Objective clear light. Very good. Now the subtlest of the mind, when the mind, through training, your mind becomes subtler, when it assumes the subtle state, that is known as subjective clear light. Right? Subjective clear light. Okay, now we just roughly got what is objective clear light, what is subjective clear light. Now on that basis, after the more detailed explanation, we will come to understand what is known as the union of the objective clear light and the subjective clear light. Union of the two clear lights. So that will come later. I don't know tomorrow. For sure it has to be done tomorrow. Right? Okay. So the subjective clear light, objective clear light. Now, to remove the ignorance, to remove this, when will your Buddha nature become fully manifested, fully awakened? When will the ultimate source of happiness, Buddha nature, becomes fully awakened? When the material stains are eliminated, ignorance and the subtle stains are eliminated for good. How to eliminate them for good? By introducing the subtlest subjective clear light, focused on the subtlest objective clear light. You getting it? We have to activate this mind. The subtlest of the mind should be activated. The subtlest mind should have two characteristics. One, subtlest object and the subtlest subject. So that must be activated. The next question, how to activate these two things? Right? How to activate these two things? So there are so many methods. There are so many methods. So many methods. One we're going to do today and tomorrow for the 3 days is the method of the Mahamudra cultivation. Method of the Mahamudra cultivation. Okay, so for that matter now, we should be a little alert. We should be a little alert. Okay, are you alert or not? If not alert, we'll stop here now. If you're alert, we can go further till what time? Till 8 o'clock. If you're alert, we can have another 45 minutes. If you're not alert, then we will say the anti-addiction prayer. Huh? Huh? By keep your eyes almost closed and saying we're alert. Huh? Very alert. Okay. Okay, good. So now, for this, there are 2 things. One is how to objective clear light, how to realize the objective clear light. Number 2 is with the subject clear light, how to actualize the subjective clear light. In other words, how to activate this subtle subjective mind, how to activate this subjective mind. And the other one is how to realize the objective clear light. You're getting it? Objective clear light, in other words, meaning the emptiness of the mind. Emptiness of the mind. And the subjective clear light is the subtleness of the mind. Okay, so it involves 2 things. The union is known as Mahamudra. Union of the 2 is known as Mahamudra. Okay, with this mind, now I really need each one of us to be alert. Okay, because what we are doing requires each one of us to have at least the alertness which is equal to somebody who has already studied Buddhist psychology for 2 months. At least this alertness is required. If you have already studied Buddhist psychology for the last 2 months or 2 months or more than 2 months, then even without that much of alertness is fine. But if you have not, then this tremendous alertness is required. Otherwise, all what we're going to do today, the remaining day today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, will go in waste. Okay, ready? Really alert? Okay, if you sit like this, it's not alert. It must be like this. Okay, good. Now, day after, maybe tomorrow afternoon, we will combine instruction with a meditation, right? With a meditation. So today is purely instruction. Okay. One is that for the subtlety of the subject is to be activated. What is that known as? Subtlety of the subject is known as subjective clear light. That is to be activated, right? For that matter, we need to keep in mind. Number one, separating sensory consciousness and a mental consciousness. This is number 1. Okay, if you want to note it down, note it down. Number 1, separating the sensory consciousness and the mental consciousness. So what is that? That I'll explain later. First, we have to note these points. 1, separating the sensory consciousness and the mental consciousness. Number 1. Number 2, grabbing the mental consciousness. Grabbing the mental consciousness. Grabbing meaning just apprehending the mental consciousness. Apprehending the mental consciousness. Okay. Then the next one is awareness of the awareness. Next one is awareness of the awareness. Okay. Okay. Then the next one is abiding. Abiding in the awareness of the awareness. And then finally, manifesting the subjective clear light. Okay. Then you add the objective clear light. Objective clear light. Realizing the objective clear light. Realizing the objective clear light. So again.
Go through this once more.
Okay, number one. What is number one? Separating the sensory consciousness and the mental consciousness. Number two, grabbing or the apprehending the mental consciousness. Number three, awareness of, okay. Number one, separating the sensory consciousness from the mental consciousness. Number two, grabbing or apprehending the mental consciousness. Number three, awareness of the awareness. Number four, abiding in this awareness of the awareness. Then number five, manifesting the subjective clear light. And then realizing the objective clear light. Okay. Okay. So under these, how many topics? Under these 6 topics, we're going to cover the Mahamudra, right? Okay. So now, what is the first one? Separating the sensory consciousness and the mental consciousness. Okay. So here, just try to follow as much as possible, try to follow experientially what I'm trying to convey. Experientially try to follow the instructions, right? Don't close your eyes. The moment you close your eyes, you will experientially go into sleep. Right? Don't close your eyes. I'm very serious. Don't close your eyes. Okay, just sit upright and try to follow the instructions and try to just experience what is being said in instructions. One, separating the sensory consciousness and the mental consciousness. For that matter, what you do is that when we are not meditating, under a normal situation, say we are in the class and you are not interested in what the other person is saying, then your mind wanders, goes towards, it just gets distracted with other things like shopping malls or whatever. Your mental consciousness is so actively going somewhere else while your eye consciousness is widely open. Alright? So there we already do this separation. But when we actually do the meditation, hey, you have to meditate on the Buddha image. Right? Don't close your eyes. Keep your eyes 45 degrees cast down. And you do this, and then you will complain that I cannot see the Buddha image, I only see the flower in front of me. Right? So there, when you do something virtuous, your mental consciousness does not listen to you. It follows your eye consciousness. It follows the sensory consciousness. So what should be meditating? Your sensory consciousness is not meditating. Your mental consciousness should be meditating. Do you know what is mental consciousness? What is sensory consciousness? Okay, say. What do you see now?
Flower.
Flower. What do you see in my left hand? Hey, what do you see in my left hand? Huh? Nothing. Very good. Okay. What flower is in my right hand? What flower? Okay. In the left hand, what do you see? Nothing. In the left hand, can you imagine a blue flower? Can you imagine a blue flower?
Yes.
Can you have an imaginary blue flower in my hand?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Your eyes could see the imaginary blue flower?
Mental consciousness.
Ah. Can you imagine blue flower now in my left hand? Can you imagine blue flower? Which mind is doing that? Your mental consciousness or your eye consciousness? Your mental consciousness is doing it. You're getting it? So that mind which conceptualizes the blue flower, that mind is the one which is which will meditate. Is the one which you should use for meditation. The mind which sees the flower now, with the eye consciousness seeing the flower, that should not be the meditating mind. So oftentimes people cannot distinguish the two things. Okay, now what we do is that, look, I may be looking at your face. I may be looking at your face. My eye consciousness is just cast on you. But my mental consciousness is thinking of my father. Right? My mental consciousness is thinking of my father. Likewise, I'm looking at your face. My eyes are looking at your face. But mental consciousness is seeing my mind. Not your face. You getting it? Okay, so look. So your sensory consciousness is just cast like this. Sometimes the practitioners, they cast their eyes directly in the sky, right? They're in the sky, but they are not looking at the sky. The mental consciousness is looking at the mind, right? Okay, now the first thing that we need to learn is how to separate the sensory consciousness and the mental consciousness. So for that matter, what we do is that same the body posture, same the cross-legged position if possible. If not, don't force it. But if you want to go for long-term meditation, we have to learn this skill. The cross-legged posture where your left foot should go on your right thigh, the right foot should go on your left thigh. So this is a very important posture required, which will keep your mind very alert. One, backbone should be upright, right? And never like this. Never like this, always upright. And if possible, make it your habit. Make it a habit to sit like this. If you feel a little pain, always sit like this for too long, then if you want to lean against the wall, you can. But still keep your body upright, right? You can lean against the wall, not do the meditation. Do the meditation, always try to sit upright, right? And to make it a habit. Make it a habit, then you can lean against the wall sometimes, but the body is still upright. This is very important. Number two. Then your head tilted forward a little bit. Then your eyes 45 degrees cast down. Eyes half open. Don't close your eyes. Particularly for the meditation, Mahamudra meditation, I would suggest don't close your eyes. It's very dangerous. Very dangerous. Don't close your eyes. If possible, try to build your meditation with eyes open. Try to build your meditation with eyes open. It's very dangerous, and only when you become expert in meditation, then with your eyes closed, eyes open, there's no difference. But as beginners, always learn how to do meditation with eyes open, 45 degrees cast. When you become expert, then you can keep your eyes wide open in the sky, and still your mind is meditating, it's not looking at the sky. You getting it? Okay, this is so important. And your tip of the tongue should touch the upper palate. Tip of the tongue should touch the upper palate to avoid excessive accumulation of saliva in your mouth. And breathe naturally. Breathe naturally, and keep your teeth and lips in their natural course. In the natural course, breathe naturally. Don't force your breath. Don't control your breath. Keep your breath naturally. Let the breath flow naturally. Then your right hand on your left hand. Right hand on your left hand. And the tips of two thumbs joining, standing, the tips of two thumbs standing and joining, forming a triangle. Place them on your laps in a restful state. Okay, this is your body posture, right? Body posture. Now, what you're going to meditate? In essence, what you're going to meditate is first awareness of the awareness. Awareness of your own mind, right? How to do that? The first part is separating the sensory consciousness and the mental consciousness. How to do that is while your eyes are 45 degrees cast down, while your eyes are 45 degrees cast down, Ask yourself, what am I doing? Answer is, I'm meditating. When your mind is saying, I'm meditating, it is not your eye consciousness. It is not your sensory consciousness. It's your mental consciousness which is saying that I'm meditating. Okay, this awareness, I am meditating. This must be very active, very alert in this. Okay, for the time being, just come out of the meditation, listen. And tomorrow we will blend the instruction with the meditation. Tomorrow. Today listen, right? Okay, just keep yourself relaxed, but relax doesn't mean like this. Okay, right, this is very important. Sit upright is very important. This will be very good for your general concentration, general freshness of your mind. Okay. Now, to separate the mind and mental consciousness and the sensory consciousness, what we do is we first ask the question, what am I doing? I'm meditating. The moment you say I'm meditating, is verbally you are not saying this. Verbally you are not saying this. You are saying this mentally. Who's saying this? Which mind? Mental consciousness, not the sensory. Sensory consciousness cannot respond like this kind of the answers. So it is your mental consciousness. So there what we do is that, yes, I'm meditating. So your eye consciousness is wide open, half open, 45 degrees cast down, but your mental consciousness is active. You're getting it? Okay. One. So the thing is that is while you are meditating, while you are say a thing about I'm meditating, say this, still you can see what is in front of you, right? And don't expect that your eye consciousness will just, with your eyes open, your eye consciousness will dissolve altogether. Don't expect that initially. It will come very late stage. At a very late stage that will come where eye consciousness will dissolve. When that happens, you're already in a very deep samadhi state. You're getting it? So initially, it will continue to appear in your eyes, but your mental consciousness should be on I am meditating. You're getting it? This is one. So with this, you have to do it frequently. You have to do it like daily. Daily you do this. And then slowly you will see that when I want my mental consciousness separately from the sensory consciousness, you have that capacity. You come to know that you can do it. Okay, say I'm looking at you, and then I'm thinking about, I'm reflecting on my own mind. Right? Okay, so this separation must be done. Once this separation is done, the next question is how to grab and apprehend your own mind. How to grab this mental consciousness. How to grab the mental consciousness. Keep in mind that sensory consciousness, mental consciousness, they both are minds. Both are minds, but we're talking about within the mind there are two categories, sensory mind and the mental consciousness. So we're talking about the mental consciousness. Now for the mental consciousness, what we do is that first, to grab that mental consciousness, first what we do is that, what am I doing? I'm meditating. Okay, what is the object? What is the object of this mind? I am meditating. What is the object of mind? I meditating. I who is meditating, this becomes the object. And who is the subject? I. Who is saying this? I am saying this. So I am the subject, I am the object. Okay, for this, first this must be very clear. If you don't have this clear, then the remaining part will become dark. Right? It will become so vague and dull. Say, what are you saying? The flowers. Okay. The flower is the subject or the object?
Object.
And which is the subject?
Eyes.
Your eyes, which see the flower. Your eyes, which see the flower, are the subjects, and the flower is the object. Okay, let's say Giri is thinking of emptiness. Giri is thinking of emptiness. What's the object? Emptiness was the subject? Giri's mind. Giri's mind, right? Okay. Okay. Let's say Abhin is thinking of subject. Abhin is thinking of subject. What's the object?
Subject.
Subject is the object, right? Okay. And what's the subject?
Abha's mind.
Abhin's mind becomes the subject, and what he's thinking, the subject which he's thinking becomes the object. Okay. Let's say that. Let's say somebody. Okay. Somebody thinks that. Okay. How I wish he stops the class now so that I can go for my dinner. Or for sure, there's no one here who will think like this. I know. Chores will be so good. Okay. Let's say somebody thinks like that. How I wish he stops this so that I will have the dinner. Okay, I like to have the dinner. I like to have the dinner. What's the object?
Dinner.
The dinner. What's the subject? The mind which
Person who's thinking.
thinks about the, which was thinking about the dinner is the subject. Okay. Now let's say I am meditating. When I say I am meditating, what's the object?
Meditation. Meditating.
The mind is meditating.
I am meditating. I know that I'm meditating. What's the object?
The mind is meditating.
Make it very simple. What did I say? I know that I am meditating. I know the flower. What's the object? The flower. I know that I'm meditating. What's the object? I am meditating. Right? I am meditating. This object, what's the subject? I. Okay, now I know I. I know myself. What's the object? Myself or I. Right? And what's the object? I. So here when I say I know myself, object and subject becomes one. I. You getting it? Object and subject become one. What is that one thing? I. Okay. Now in the meditation, don't do it. Okay, just listen. So now then the next thing that we have to do is that I'm meditating. I know I'm meditating. I know myself. Then object becomes I and subject becomes I. So the subject object, they become one. Just I. I become the object as well as the subject. Then you switch. Next you switch to the, my mind knows my own mind. Right? Earlier said, I know myself. Now you say, my mind knows my own mind. What's the object? My mind. What's the subject? My mind. So now it's from the person we switch to the mind. Mind and awareness, these two are synonymous. You getting it? Mind and awareness, these two are synonymous. Don't forget it. Mind and awareness, these two are synonymous. Now look, what is the object? My mind knows my mind. What's the object? My mind. What's the subject? My mind. So subject and object is the same. My mind. So my mind is known as awareness. My awareness. Awareness. What is the object? Awareness. What's the subject? Awareness. So the awareness of the awareness. You getting it? Awareness of the awareness. I'm aware of my own awareness. You getting it? Okay, let's do it. See if you can do it. Okay, sit upright and see if you can be aware of your own mind. Okay, follow the instruction and just try to see if you can do it. Okay. I'm aware of myself. I'm aware of myself. I'm meditating. My mind is meditating. My mind knows that my mind is meditating. At this moment, my mind knows that my mind is meditating. My mind knows my mind. Okay, don't sit in this position for too long. Come out. Okay, something happening to your mind, that I'm aware of my own mind. It can happen to you. The mind becomes very clear. Your mind came to you very clearly. Or nothing is nothing is coming. What is going on? What happens? Tell me. Which is true?
It's very confusing with your eyes open.
Exactly.
I'm having my eyes open, so I'm just.
So you can see the pages in front of you, right?
And I'm trying to think of what you're saying, but
Still, your eyes are so powerful, it attracts your mental consciousness, right? Very good.
one has to sit in this cross-leg posture. What came out like me? Then what was the other?
Very good question. In case if we cannot sit cross-legged, then what should we do? In case if we cannot sit upright, what should we do? This is a very good question. Where, okay, good news for those people who cannot sit cross-legged, who cannot sit the upright, and maybe bad news for the people who can sit upright is that those people who cannot sit cross-legged, if they don't sit cross-legged, it's not a problem. Those who can sit cross-legged, if they don't sit cross-legged, there's a problem. Your mind will be in a relaxed state. Those who cannot sit cross-legged, if they don't sit cross-legged, if they sit on a chair, it will not make your mind dull and inactive. Whereas those who can, who do not do that, you will feel, when you don't do it, you will feel the dullness of your mind. One. The next, your body. If you cannot sit upright, if you have to lean against a wall, if you have to, because of the backache problem and so forth, back problem, maybe whatever problem that you might have, if you lean against, there is no problem. If you don't have the problem and still you don't sit upright, you have a problem. Your mind will be so dull. Right? Those people who cannot sit upright, they can lean against a wall, there's no problem. Their mind can still be fresh. But those of us who can sit upright, you don't sit like this, you lean against a wall like what others do, then you will have a very dull mind. Don't forget it. Okay, any other problem? Yes, over there?
In case of, let's say, anger, I'm aware that I'm angry.
No, don't just keep aside everything else.
Okay, I'm aware.
Simply, any question you might have pertaining to the instruction, precisely instruction that I gave of separating the mental consciousness and the sensory consciousness, and then grabbing at the mental consciousness. These two things.
Yeah.
As per the instructions given, Ravi.
When you're looking at 45 degrees, are the eyes likely to be closed or they have wide? When you're looking at 45 degrees,
Yes.
do the eyes slightly close down, or the eyelids should be half closed, or the
No,
eyelids should be
it's
half
45 degrees, 45 degrees, 45 degrees. If it is too close, which means you are not looking 45 degrees, it's like maybe 5 degrees. Right? It's like this. You know what 45 degree is? Right? This 90, 45 degrees, half of this is 45 degree, right? Just cast your mind, cast your, the eye consciousness there. And in the variation of 5 degrees is fine. 40 degrees is also fine, 35 is also fine. But don't make it like 5 degrees.
So you're looking at 45 with our eyes fully open.
Eyes open, like this. Natural, keep it in a very natural state, eyes open.
There's a confusion like watching and you watch yourself, you witness yourself. And is it like should dive very deep or should stop like watching yourself?
Just follow the instruction given. Don't think more. The next step we'll discuss tomorrow, right?
After a little while, if you start experiencing pain because you're not used to sitting in a posture, what do you do?
Okay, so say sitting cross-legged, sitting upright. In the process, if you start feeling pain because you are not used to doing this, what should we do? Is that you try to keep your cross-legged and sit upright. The moment you start feeling pain, like for example, if you start feeling pain, try to bear it a little bit. Don't go to the extreme. Bear a little bit. And then if it becomes little to the extent closer towards becoming unbearable, then you lean against a support for some time. Again, it becomes very comfortable, you can come back. Likewise, the two legs. When it starts closer towards the paining, don't go to the extent of paining a lot. Closer to paining, you put it down, you relax it. Release it. The moment the pain goes away, again bring it back. And then slowly you'll get used to this. Right? Okay, any other questions? Yes, Abraham? No.
How can we recognize the mind?
Okay, so there, the detail will come tomorrow. Detail will come tomorrow. Any new hands? Yes, Anupamaji?
While meditating, if another thought comes, for example, who's the I? Am I still meditating or am I not?
Okay, so say when you do this meditation, then the other thoughts can come, like not only I am meditating, you also say who is this I, right? Okay, so this requires what is the basic condition of the meditation, to be freed from mental excitement and mental laxity. Mental laxity meaning your mind becomes, the moment you start meditating, right, then your mind becomes heavy. Okay, so he said that we should meditate at least for 5 minutes. Then you put on the timer, 5 minutes timer. Oh, now 5 minutes should have gone. You look at it, it's not even 1 minute gone. Again said, oh, now 5 minutes gone. Still same 4 minutes. You see that it's like 2 seconds, it's like 5 minutes. This is, how a mind feels, which means that your mind is consumed by lethargy, the heaviness of your mind. Okay, heaviness of mind, lethargy is one extreme. This should be avoided. Another one is the excitement. Your mind scatters here and there, things. Your mind chats. Your mind thinks, different objects. Your mind is scattered, not on the focal point, right? Intended object. It goes away from that. That is mental scattering. These two must be avoided. These two must be avoided. Without avoiding these two things, then this meditation. Okay, basically, as I said earlier, instruction that I'm sharing with you is not out of my expectation that you will meditate on this. Keep this in mind. Tomorrow, before we actually go through this instruction, we will go through a basic breathing meditation. Without a basic breathing meditation exercise for some time, gaining some expertise in the basic breathing meditation, we can't do this meditation which we are doing. At the same time, why we are doing this, if we are not to practice it, is because for many other reasons. From this, you will come to see the secret, see the secret of the mind, how the mind works, what is the mind like. So what if I'm able to train my mind, then what will it become like? And so forth, all these will learn. Then you will have a sense of joy. With this sense of joy, you like to pursue through the Dharma practice more diligently, right? Okay, so for that matter, when other thoughts come, you have to avoid. For example, one thing that I like to share with you here is, if I'm meditating, say the Buddha image, I'm meditating Buddha. My eyes are fortified this cast down, but my mental consciousness is meditating on the Buddha image. If this is what I'm doing, and then suddenly my thought changed to, it shifts its object from the Buddha image to say the emptiness. Is good or bad? Huh?
It's good.
This emptiness is so good. But you are not supposed to, you are supposed to be meditating on this Buddha image for like say 5 minutes. And in 2 minutes time your mind changed from the Buddha image to the emptiness. Your mind is indisciplined. Your mind is not obeying you. Your mind is behaving the way it likes. If your mind does not listen to you, you are not meditating. Meditation is to gain control over your mind. Now your mind is not listening to you. How can you gain control of your mind? So if your mind does not follow your instruction, that is not meditation. Keep this in mind. Say, you are thinking about, I am meditating. Just this, not beyond. And then if it extends further, analyzing, say, well, who is this mind? Who is this mind? What is this self? Who is this self? What is this self? And so forth. When you go into such analysis, your mind is behaving out of your instruction. So this needs to be avoided. This comes under what is known as the single-pointed meditation, to be freed of the 2 errors of meditation. 2 errors. One is where your mind starts to scatter here and there with different thoughts. That is scattering or excitement. Other one is opposite of that. Your mind becomes passive, dull, passive, inactive, inserviceable, lethargic. That is the another extreme, right? So these 2 must be avoided. These 2 must be avoided. Okay. Any more? Yes, over there. Gentleman over there. Yes, yes. Huh?
You answered my question.
Okay, thank you. Yes, over there.
Lethargy is also includes sleepiness, right?
Lethargic, sleepiness, heaviness, inserviceability, they're all into this category. And mental laxity. Okay, more questions?
Sometimes it happens, I am asking who I am, even answering also, my meditating who I am and answering the question, but in backdrop, there are channeling going on.
Like what?
Like what happened, what can happen.
Okay, so that belongs to any other thoughts coming?
That is also coming, but I am answering and I am asking.
Still answering, but other thoughts also coming, right? Which means that our mind is scattered. A torch, the torch light, when the light scatters, then what disappears is intensity disappears. Intensity, you lose the intensity. When the lights, they are channelized, right? The space of the coverage is less, but it's so intense. It becomes laser light, right? So what we need is a very high quality meditation. High quality where the scattering stops. The other chats should stop, right? Yes, over there?
Like when we were saying we should say I'm meditating and see 45 degrees. Initially I was saying I'm meditating and I'm seeing 45 degrees a page. But there was a point when it became blank. So should I again repeat saying
Repeat. Anyway, the more detail, this is just 0.01 part of what we are discussing. What we are supposed to be discussing, right? So the more detailed instructions will come tomorrow. Okay, now, given that this is a very important, the class, those of us here who are interested in this one, number 2, who have the capacity to come tomorrow, what time? 10 o'clock sharp, who have the capacity to come sharp at 10 o'clock, if possible 10 to 10, right? Then I would suggest that make it 10 to 10, because you miss even the, say, 0.01% of the instruction, the earlier instructions. What we're going to cover later on is going to be much less benefit for you, much less clear. So therefore, as much as possible, try to make it at 10 sharp, or if possible 10 to 10 or 5 to 10, right here. So that way you will get the full, and with the intensity. Okay, the instructions, what I would suggest, the 6 points which we discussed. So okay, let me request the same Shadila to assign someone, because someone to
Avril can send.
Who will?
Avril.
Huh? April. Yeah. Yeah. April or April?
Avril for
April.
Avril.
Okay, April will do that. Yeah. So April will help you, give you a piece of written. She will give you. Okay.
The further instructions also will be a handout because this is just a preliminary as well, mentioned.
Yes, there's a big handout there. Big handout there. Chokorson already, you did not get it? Okay, so there's a there. Yeah. Okay, many of which I'm saying may not be in there. Keep this in mind. Many of what I'm saying are not in this main book. Keep this in mind, right? Don't think that we have the handout, so don't worry. Many of what I'm saying is not in the book. It's coming from the various other sources, right? Buddhist psychology and many other sources. From there, I just picked up all these things, put them, and combined with this main text, right? This is what is happening.
That is what I meant when I said, could we get a handout? I mean, all this valuable information.
Subhashi will give you the audio, you transcribe it for all of us, please.
Audio will be available. Audio will be available, and then
Audio and video both is available.
audio, video will be available. Yeah. Okay. Then, if the Subhashini or others can transcribe them, that will be very helpful. Yeah. But in some of them, it's better not to transcribe. If transcribe, then people take it very easily, right? If they put a little bit of effort, then with effort, so which of the two, the physiotherapy is more effective? That you don't do anything, physiotherapist will lift your hand all the time, and you try to lift your hand, which is more effective? You try to lift your hand, this is 20, 30 times more effective than someone else lifting your hand, right? So therefore your effort is also very important. Meanwhile, say the recordings must be made available. Yes. Okay. So we will quickly do an end direction prayer. Okay, let us turn to page 74. Page 74 of this prayer book. Page 74. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma and the Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I demand a full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may God quickly attain the state of Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into their enlightened state. May the Supreme Bodhicitta, which has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. Choe I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the deeds and the prayers of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of three times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of teaching and realization. Guide all lives through the force of this merit, never separate from the four wheels of the Mahayana vehicle, and accomplish all the stations of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect will in 2 stages. The path of union and emptiness and compassion is lucidly explained by the protector of the Dharma and the beings of the student. You are the lotus hold the Tenzin Gyatso, we supplicate you that you will support spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans and non-humans who have managed through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the 3 jewels. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings of dependent origination in particular, even across my life. Okay, good night.